add on to that, or the next logical question will be, can you help us expand on these four quadrants that you're talking about?
Right, I'll do that. It's actually a lot of things, but we spoke in fragments, right, about unified commerce. So before we get into expanding the four quadrant approach, let's first understand our take on unified commerce, right? The general acceptable definition, industry definition of unified commerce is, in omnichannel you have multiple channels, but you don't have one piece of software, one version of truth. In the unified commerce world, it is all connected real time. It does not mean that it does not mean it's a web part of it, or the mobile part of it, or the store part of it, but all of it is coming together real time. And also one important thing which we are trying to address in the unified commerce is, how do you bring all the experiences from within the brand or within the ecosystem or even outside the ecosystem? How do you make it consistent, right? And what we say is, it's not a single software but a solution, but a architectural approach. That is what we see, or that's what we say as unified commerce.
So you are saying that, as compared to what the industry thinks, probably our approach is more architectural, more framework driven, which kind of provides that level of customization that we have always been talking about. Every retailer has to have on its own. Okay, that's interesting. So I think the next logical question that I continue to talk about was, can you expand a bit on those four quadrants?
Absolutely. And as we mentioned earlier, right, unified commerce approach grows from the idea that any retailer starting on their digital transformation journey must ensure to enable the enterprise. So when we talk about enable, right, I mean, I did talk about enable as the first pillar or the first quadrant, right? So when we talk about enable, we are talking about making sure that all the nuts and bolts are put together. The platform is laid. You have, this is done through thinking or having future thinking thought process. Like you have collaborative platforms for ideation and design thinking approach in place. You put together processes around DevOps for development strategy, so that you fail fast and you learn fast. And then of course you have from a testing standpoint, you make sure that there is a higher degree of automation in QA. So you have QA automation, release automation, and then of course you kind of put together the architecture as well for re-engineering these landscapes. So it could be what works for you. It could be a microservice architecture, any other architecture which typically works for you. But these are fundamentals, and that's the reason I put it as enable. You need to get this right, and then you go on, right? We can go on and on, but the principles to view technology as an enabler to create a solid base and accelerate your customer journey is a must. That is definitely something which you need to look at. And then we move on from an enable standpoint. You move on to the next quadrant, which is about integrating your enterprise. I'm sorry, integrating your enterprise. So here, what you do is you build capabilities around integration, right? Because we spoke about integrating being one of the backbones of bringing everything together. All the data, all the systems which exist in silos together. But integration in unified commerce space is not just about letting systems talk to each other easily. More emphasis on creating a single view of data for three of the most data entities in retail. I spoke about it earlier: inventory, customer, and orders, right? So it's just not about connecting systems. It is about also interoperability of data and making sure you use data from one system to another and bringing a very, very clear unified view. The most critical piece, right, if you ask us, is this: a single view to get your unified commerce on the right track at the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, building APIs, enable data collection, and ingestion platform are important to successful digital transformation, initiative as well. And I think it's like, as I said earlier, it's definitely a backbone to what we are talking about. And as we move on, there is this third bucket which I want to talk about. The third quadrant which we talk about is definitely building experiences, right? Because today, retail is shifting its focus on building experiences. Okay,
Yeah.
not to look at revenue as the sole KPI, but experience is becoming a very, very critical parameter for successfully, for their success, and connecting, connecting customers or connecting these experiences are becoming vital. And this has also resulted directly in sales going up, people walking into stores,
Mm-hmm.
and you understanding your customer much better, right?
Got it.
Shopping experiences are not influenced just by like icons or close friends anymore,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
But by social influencers now, who are using social media as a powerful channel to sway customers preference. Now that is definitely something which is adding to the mix. And connected devices are a powerful tool to ease the shopping experience, specifically around repetitive shopping experiences like curbside pickup, which we spoke about a little while ago, which is an extension to buy online, pick up in store. And then you have appointment based shopping, video consulting, and these are experiences which you necessarily need not only be building for within building for using within your ecosystem. Like for example, if
Mhm.
you are say electronic manufacturer and distributor, now if you
Mhm.
have to build these experiences, you can actually build and enable your dealers, enable your third party brands to use these experiences to provide same brand story across wherever the customer is purchasing, right? So that's the reason I say, when you build experiences, also keep in mind, go back to your enable and keep in
Mhm.
mind that you want to build experiences which are reusable, which are modularized, and which can be capitalized in many ways. You can combine one or two many experience and
Mhm.
present it to the customer.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the last part we spoke about is to analyze, where we learn from the past and made corrections to our present and the future work, and analyze quadrant, right? We constantly improve based on data which comes in,
Mhm.
and also we slowly develop certain models in which we can predict. So you can't definitely predict the customer behavior,
Mhm.
with fistful of current data, but an analysis of competition pricing can be implemented real time to advise your business for immediate actions. And
Mhm.
also, as you grow, you have multiple data points which you bring together, and this makes analysis even more effective. This then feeds back into each of the quadrants, each of the other three quadrants, right?
Mhm.
Kind of as a perpetual ecosystem which truly evolves from time, and that's the core mantra of retail, right? To evolve, isn't it, Abhishek?
Yeah, man, that was actually a lot of information. So again, one very interesting take from it, and I think that's very important for everybody who's listening out there. It's the consistency of brand experience that we are talking about that becomes very important, whether you are within the ecosystem of the retailer or outside the ecosystem of the retailer, because you don't want the brand to be identified from the platform. You want the brand to be identified irrespective of the platform that it is available on. So thanks, Vinny. I think that was a great point. But with so much of information to digest, one thing that I'll want to check about is you spoke about the four quadrant approach,
Right, right.
but the way we spoke about it, or the way I kind of interpreted it, that you start from the enable and you move in this cyclic journey of constant evolution and the perpetual machinery being set in motion. But what about the retailers who are already at some level of digital transformation programs? It's not like every retailer is starting from scratch, right? So are we
Right,
saying that
right.
unified commerce cannot apply to them?
Not really, not really at all.
Mhm.
In fact, I had touched upon it in my previous, answer as well. It does. It's not a greenfield implementation, or it's not like you have to start from the scratch. If you are ahead in your journey and you want to enter, let's say, building
Mhm.
experiences, as you strongly agree that your tech and business teams are enabled, and enterprise is integrated at the mature level, feel free to do that. Okay, you can start there. You can start building experiences, and that's the beauty of this approach, allowing you to choose your entry point into evolution and progressing forward from there. Right, the adoption is flexible and understanding enough to tweak it to nuances that matters to you. So if you are, like as I said, if you think you are lacking in a specific area in these three quadrants, probably it's time to look at it. In case you are thinking that, hey, my DevOps practice or my release practices are not in place, and you want to start there. I think that's perfectly
Mhm.
fine. And as we said earlier, it is not a one size fit all kind of a model, right?
Got
That's
it.
that's typically what we are telling. And to
Mhm.
further expand, right, on this, to start building your experience with unified commerce approach and analyze the outcome of ROI, which is then back fed into the system for further continuing the enablement of your enterprise and integrating more as you add more experience and touch points, right? In between all this, you will continue to, of course, identify through metrics with system touch points, application needs, to upgrade, validate your metrics, as we see, if they are still relevant, and does it need work, right? And
Mhm.
unified commerce, of course, lets you identify specific areas which might require more work, than others, helping you prioritize your initiatives. So that's typically what we are talking about. And again, like, to answer your question, unified commerce is not about reinventing the wheel, right?
Mhm.
What works for you doesn't need to be changed, but if it can be armored better, why not? Your single
Got it.
view or single unified view of, let's say, your orders is already there, and you already have a great OMS which provides you with that. An order management system is already provides you with that. Then why go and change it, right?
Mhm.
Or let's say, your single view of customers is backed by great CRM tool, but it is not integrated. You still see certain information, in silos. Probably that's where you want to invest, and you want to start bringing everything together. So unified commerce will help you. In fact, it's more an approach,
Mhm.
which will help you, or which will give you the guiding principles to build better integration for the same, in from an integration standpoint. So,
Got it.
the principle of unified commerce is to help build around what works and continue to leverage what your existing systems are best in providing, and
Mhm.
add new features or re-engineer system application around them.
Hmm. So I think that was a very powerful statement that you make. You don't have to reinvent everything. If something works for you, you
Right.
continue to use it, and whatever else you need to work on, focus there. So I think that will probably ease up a lot of viewers here who might have thought that unified commerce is, we have to do a whole lot of stuff. So thanks for that statement. With that, Vinny, I'll probably want to come to the last section. It's just way too much information. I think we'll break it into further pieces as we continue to launch videos after video. So, one question that I have, if we have to talk about the outcomes, so the key takeaways, can you
Mhm.
highlight some possible benefits from this four quadrant approach of unified commerce?
Definitely, few things which come to my mind is, faster go to market, through
Mm-hmm.
small scalable system which can be brought together to serve larger purpose. We spoke about, adapting to DevOps, more automation. So definitely that's going to accelerate your go to market, right? And really smaller pieces so that you fail fast, you learn fast. Rather than, I say, fail fast, you learn fast, and then you improvise. All result in faster release cycle, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
all retailers are aiming for, And just like the Lego piece, Lego, this one which you spoke about, example which you spoke about, you build
Mhm.
smaller pieces and put them all together for a bigger model. That's
Okay.
something which we are going to do. And then, the second advantage which I definitely see is your thought process for making the whole thing headless. When you start looking at building experiences, naturally you will have to start having a common set of services which you expose, which can be consumed by newer experiences, newer channels.
Mhm.
So headless retail is definitely something which you would inculcate as part of the thought process, and that's definitely going to be an advantage. And then, single view of data will help generate from omnichannel to letting each customer touch point offer same quality of service. See, today, this is definitely one area which requires a lot of improvisation. I buy in one channel, then I call their service agents, and they have no clue about where I bought, what I bought. Sometimes they have a good understanding if it is bought within the ecosystem, but if it is bought outside the ecosystem, they don't have much of
Mhm.
an understanding. Definitely, single view of data will bring that. Knowing where exactly your inventory is can also reduce cost. So it's just not about improving your business. It's also affecting your bottom line as well. It reduces cost and the lead time to fulfill, and planning while knowing your order status at any point in fulfillment gives you the availability to serve customers better and keep them informed. So that's definitely there. And then, of course, it provides data points for your customer segments on servicing placement that can help on advertising, on initiatives, including IoT commerce, right? I mean, today we are talking about IoT commerce, API economy, and all of these. So these experiences are real time, and that can and as it can get with the availability of process data, and customize it for each customer. So higher degree of personalization,
Mhm.
higher degree of automation, both from a perspective of channels and also your touch points, is definitely going to be some of the benefits which you will see in short term, mid-term, and long term, as we have this four quadrant approach, Abhishek.
Fine. So one highlight was the phrase that you use, headless retail. So I think that is something I'll probably interview you again for. That's a very interesting terminology that we used. We have always heard about headless commerce, but headless retail probably you're trying to encapsulate. But I think so. That's a one of the key takeaways. I'll want to ask more about it. But in the benefit of time, I really want to thank you, Finney, for all the time that you've taken and all the insights that you've brought in. A lot to digest and relate to. But one thing that I think for sure is that omni-channel is not being dumped. I'm going to make that statement. We are not dumping omni-channel. We are just talking about evolving omni-channel to the next level. The mantra is to think every customer touch point that is being used to connect with the retailer and ensuring that the information availability and the level of consistency is maintained. Building experiences that center around the ease of information availability and can be transported seamlessly from one channel to another within the ecosystem, or as you said, outside the ecosystem, is the next omni channel, which we term as unified commerce.
Right.
It's also about, I think, getting the basics right. As you rightly pointed out, what works for you, continue to expand. But to do that, first you have to get the basics right, which means that your experiences like buy online, pick up in store, ship from store, endless aisles, if you have them right, then you progress to the next step of digital transformation. If you think that there is still a scope of improvement there, you build upon that and you continue. So of course, we don't want to skip a step in evolution, right? We have seen how
Right.
skipping a step in evolution has worked. So with that, I would want to conclude this video session, which spoke about what's next after omni-channel. And once again, thanks a lot, Finney, for taking the time out. It was wonderful talking to you, and probably I will bug you again for expanding on headless retail that we spoke about.
Sure. It was a pleasure talking to you as well, Abhishek.
Thanks.
Thanks for
Thanks.
having me.
Yeah. Thanks everyone.